It's showtime, a-holes. Time to strap yourself in and brace yourself for Muscle Asylum TV and radio.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Muscle Asylum TV. We're doing these regular episodes, well, as regularly as we can with Lee Priest. So once a fortnight is what we're trying to schedule at least. I organised one with a couple of weeks ago, but he fell asleep on the couch or something. You had some dumb bullshit excuse.
I think it was you didn't contact me. That was it, wasn't it?
No, well, I was a little bit preoccupied with a sick baby, but I'm going to pull that card.
There we go. It's always have a baby, use it an excuse for the rest of your life.
Yeah, well, I'll use it when I can. But you know what we're going to do? If we're going to do these regularly, we're going to think of a name for the show. But it'll be good little competition to have for all of our followers on Muscle Asylum to pick a name for your segment at least.
Oh, I can see it already. They'll be coming up with ask the midget a question, ask the fucking dwarf a question, ask the fucking, all original stuff,
What would you call it? Have you had?
I wouldn't have a clue. Life with Lee. Life lessons with Lee.
All right, let's start with life lessons with Lee. Let's talk a little bit about what's been happening with bodybuilding around the world, and then we'll get straight to the listener questions that I posted a couple of weeks ago. Remember, we were supposed to do that up in the other episode when I posted that fat obese photo of you guest posing.
Oh, that's a good one, wasn't it?
It was. I'll share it while we're doing the thing, don't I, so people can have another look. Let's talk about the whole... we'll talk about, obviously, topics associated with the death of Luke Sandoe. We won't go too much into it because it is a sensitive topic. And we don't want to... Not that will offend too many people, but we'll touch on it a little bit, and then we'll obviously talk about your thoughts on the moving of the Olympia. So we'll start with the Olympia. We obviously, it's been announced now that the Olympia has been moved to December. Obviously, a new venue also. I can't remember the hotel. Do you remember what the hotel was?
Planet Hollywood.
Planet Hollywood. Do you know what the venue's like there at all?
I think I stayed there once. It's actually not a bad venue. Well, look, anywhere's better than the Orleans Hotel, so it doesn't matter where it was. They could have had it at the fucking Mudgee Caravan Park. It would have been better than the fucking Orleans Hotel. So the Orleans was dog shit.
I remember the last time in Vegas, I'm pretty sure I walked through there, and it was a massive, massive hotel. Like all of them are in Vegas, but this was exceptionally big. But I think Mike Tyson at the time he wasn't doing stand-up, but he was just doing his little thing where he just talks on stage.
Talked about his life.
Yeah, I think he held it there. I could be wrong, but if it was there, then I think it would be a good venue.
Yeah, it's a real nice hotel. I'm pretty sure I stayed there last time I was in Vegas. I think I did see the interview that was it Dave did with Dan Solomon. I think he asked him about the expo, and they haven't confirmed whether the expo is going to be there yet. It used to be at the Mandalay Bay where you had the contest and the expo all in the same hotel, so it made it easier for everyone. So hopefully, if they can get the expo tied into the hotel as well, it'll make a one-stop location for everything rather than travelling across town to an expo and back again for a contest. So
I think the expo is too big for a hotel. Where it is now, when's the last time you've been to the Olympia to watch the Olympia? Have you been since they moved the expo?
Yeah, I've been there a few times since they moved. The last time I was there was 2 years ago.
Yeah, well, there you go, yeah. So you would have seen... So that's not too far away from the Strip.
No, it's not. It's pretty much behind, probably like a block or two behind Planet Hollywood. It's a lot closer than the Orleans is anyway.
Yeah. It'll make it a lot easier for people to do the expo and then make it back in time to go and watch it. But... what are your thoughts on it moving to December? Obviously, with all the restrictions in place and everything, it's going to be just basically.
Well, let's hope it stays on December, and then that's if everything goes according to their plan, what they foresee in this and stuff. But because I know even with NABBA, they're talking about the universe maybe still being in the end of the year, but then it's going to come down to okay, you can plan to have it in December or November, but then what countries will countries be allowed to fly at those times yet? I know they're lifting restrictions as far as inside countries go, but then worldwide restrictions with people flying in and flying out, is that going to be all go by December or not?
Well, I can pretty much safely predict that there'll be no international flights going in and out of America come that time. So we're just going to be seeing competitors, obviously, that live locally in and around the state. So that's where the majority of the competitors come from regardless. So it'll still be a good show. But I remember the last time I went, when we went and purchased our tickets and picked up our tickets, I can't remember who I spoke to, but they said, I can't remember the percentage, but it was such a large percentage of people that come and watch the show actually come from Australia. And I'm talking over 50%. So
well, I think the majority. I think the majority of the crowd is more international, because I think the local crowd is generally, you get a few hardcore from New York, you get a few from the middle, you get a few from LA and Vegas itself. But you find there's always the ones who buy the big packages come from overseas. The USA people are fucking cheap, like Aussies are for shows in Australia. The people that live in America just go to the expo, see the athletes at the expo, get their autograph, take photos,
grab their free shit,
go out, party all night, drink and do drugs, and then just watch the Olympia on the computer back in their fucking hotel room because they're cheap bastards. So then they sleep in on the next morning till lunchtime and go to the expo again in the afternoon to get more free shit, and then go back to the hotel room.
I was a complete opposite. I tried to avoid the expo. We went to the expo just to see, I think it was the first time they had the classic physique on that year. And that was at the expo, so that's the reason why we went. But I think you're crazy if you go to the Olympia and you just go to the expo and not actually go and watch the show.
I think the funniest time was in Vegas, was when I was at the Mandalay Bay. We had the Olympia on, and then there was the big porn convention on.
Porn, like you're talking about porno, porn.
Yeah, like that sexpo they have in Sydney, but a massive one, like the major one where they give out the sex awards, best anal scene and all this sort of shit. So it's like the biggest porn convention and awards night.
The Olympia of porn, basically.
Yeah. And so they had the Olympia on that weekend. That was on that weekend, and there was something else on that weekend. So the whole Vegas just looked like one freak show. You had the fitness girls and porn stars walking through the hotel. It was like this big fucking...
That would have been great.
Well, between you and me, between some of the fitness girls and porn stars, you couldn't tell the difference. I think the porn stars had more fucking morals. So, at least they were getting paid, These porn stars are taking up the ass for a couple of hours, and the fitness girls are doing it for a tub of protein. So you tell me which one's the slut. So.
How do you reckon the show will shape based on the fact that we're predominantly going to only see American competitors? Like, if you had to think now of who you would pick as a top 5, so I'm pretty sure Shawn Rhoden's committed to the show. So obviously his case is whatever happened with that is just gone out the window.
Slowly died a slow death. That hasn't he? Haven't heard any more about it. So.
Yeah, which is a good thing, I think. But obviously with Shawn Rhoden doing the show, he would be a top contender, whether or not Phil Heath or Kai Green make a comeback. But if just off the top of the head,
Shawn will look good, but I think Shawn might have. I don't know. Shawn to me always reminds me of what's his name? You got Shawn and who's the other guy who won the Arnold? I'm having a brain fart. Must be getting late at night. What's his name?
Cedric. No.
Flex.
Oh, Flex. Yeah. That's Shawn Rhoden, you idiot.
Oh, okay. Well, not him. The other one. Cedric.
I said Cedric, yeah.
Yeah, okay. See, well, those two, it's like hit or miss. If they come in on, they look great. Yeah. But if they're just that little bit off, they look really off. But I don't know. I think Shawn, if he had not had what happened to him and he had that momentum going, I think he might have, placed high again. But even if he comes in shape now, I just don't think that after what's happened and stuff, whether they will judge him fairly or not. So I think they're going to.
So that's where you think that if it comes close, they're going to take that into consideration. Do you think?
I think they might, because it's still hanging over his head and stuff. So I think if they can get someone who's squeaky clean, like a Flex Lewis, nice family man, 7-time 212 champion, stuff like that. They put him over him. I think they put Bonac over him. They put Brandon Curry over him. So I think that he'll have his work cut out to make the top 5. I think Shawn will, if he comes in, even in good shape.
Do you think Phil is a chance of making a comeback, or do you think he's done and dusted?
You never know. Well, if Phil comes back at his best, he'll win it. I don't see any of the others at the moment being any competition. The only one I see being competition to Phil, if he also came back would be Kai Green. If Kai Green come back in peeled condition, but if those two don't turn up, then still I see it being anyone's show. As good as Brendan Curry is, I think, even last year a few of the other guys pushed him a bit. So I think if any of those guys even came in a bit better, like Bonac or someone, and anything, I'd even Flex Lewis, I think, being a lot fuller and harder, could probably even push Brandon and beat him. So I think even though Brandon is Mr Olympia, I still think that, the changing of the guard could happen again. Whereas when you see somebody like Ronnie or Dorian or even, Phil Heath, when they come in at their best, you're pretty much looking for a second place after if they're at their best. So this year I think it's still wide open to anyone who can come in and still hit their day on the day and come in the best they can be. So it's still not going to, okay, Brandon, if he comes back as the defending champion, as much as I like Brandon, I don't see him as like I said, when Dorian came back or Ronnie come back, if they came in shape, you knew they were going to win it. Whereas Brandon coming in shape, I still see him. He's still beatable. So it's still going to be wide open, I think. So as good as Brandon is, it still could be another new Mr Olympia turning up.
Yeah, it would definitely be interesting. I would love obviously a lot of people wouldn't know exactly how it works, but just to my understanding, you qualify for the Olympia, which you've done before. So you qualify for the Olympia. You get offered a contract, and whatever happens on the day, that's what you get paid. So whatever prize money you get rewarded, and that's the only type of payment. There is no contractual agreement where promoters can say, I'm going to give you 50 grand to come and compete at this show. I'm just thinking about how you would draw Kai Green back on the stage.
Well, we used to hear about it happening back in the day. We'd hear that somebody might have been given 20,000 to turn up, win, lose, or whatever. So even back when I was competing, I never asked the people, but we used to hear that some competitors were offered 20 grand to come do a show or something like that. So, to me, it's not fair if they do offer someone that, because, Kai Green could come and do the show. Yes, he'd love to win it, but he'd be thinking, win, lose, whatever, I'm still getting $100,000, $200,000 isn't bad. So,
but okay, so yeah, fair enough. It's not fair as a competitor, but coming from a promoter's perspective, if you know that it's going to sell tickets,
it's good for a promoter, but it's not fair to the other competitors.
But imagine,
but even what's his name said, Dan Solomon said that Kai not being qualified, when he was talking to Dave, things can change though. Like you said, if the promoter wants to get someone there, they'll get him there. But at the moment, he said Kai's not qualified, so he'd have to qualify to do the Olympia. But
I think they have announced the qualification, or the rules of qualification and how people can qualify for the Olympia. Obviously, there's a lot more leeway this time because there's not as much shows leading up to it. So, did you read over how you can qualify for the Olympia at all?
No, I heard they were talking about it when they're talking about if you'd won a show last year or placed in the top 2 of shows or 3 of shows or top 5 at the Arnold or. I don't know. I think it's just put your name in a hat and go, number 5, okay, you can do the show.
Yeah.
So, as the show gets closer, they're going to be, looking for names. So anything can change. Like we said, they say Kai has to qualify, but if the show comes closer and people want to see it happen and they know he's a draw card, I think they'll let it slide and that will go a special invite. So, it's happened. If Kevin got an invite before and other people have invites, I can't see there's no reason to invite Kai in the end if they want to get the numbers up and get the money in for a good show. And then especially Phil's coming back, because Phil and Kai always had that rivalry, so they'd want to stir that up again. So it'd be interesting to see.
Phil and Kai will sell tickets. That's the last time I've been to an Olympia where the crowd was buzzing. And I remember it slowly diminished year and year after that.
Yeah, and I think even if those two didn't come back, I think the main draw card there would also be just, okay, Brandon's coming back, but seeing Flex Lewis go from the 212 into the Open, I think people are going to be wanting to see how he's going to fare in the Open. So that'll be really the only other draw card they'd have, it making it some sort of, when they, because nearly every year they've always had a rivalry between somebody, but if nobody new comes in, it's just going to be Brandon coming back to defend his crown against whoever shows up. So the story's going to be really Flex going from the 212 into the Open. So
They do need rivalries. There's not many rivalries up there on stage. Like back in the day when you used to compete, were there many rivalries that used to get promoted much at all? Like even if they were a little bit bullshit, that were a little bit hyped up just for.
Not. I think like always Flex wanting to beat Ronnie at the time and stuff like that, and Kevin. But I don't know. It just seemed I'm not going to have people jump down my throat. But just back then, there seemed to be that many good guys. It just seemed like it could have been, apart from if Dorian was at the show or after that Ronnie, you pretty much knew they were going to win it. But after that, it was pretty much like whoever showed up, because you'd have Kevin, you'd have Flex Wheeler, you'd have NASA, you'd have Chris Cormier, you'd have Paul Dillette. So it was pretty much, there were so many good guys there on any given day that if anyone showed up in great shape, it's hard to do a rivalry because there were so many good competitors. Whereas, now, yes, there's still a lot of good competitors, but when it was Phil and Kai, these two really stood out as, that freaky 3D muscle, whereas the other guys look good. But these two, is like your eyes are drawn to them. That's always where the rivalry seemed to be. So it's really hard to sort of put somebody in between those two when those two are on stage.
I think there needs to be a little bit more on social media, a little bit more of a build up. Like they could play on it a little bit more.
Well, they should. Wrestling. Even though wrestling, we know it's all put on and shit, but wrestling plays on it. The crowds love it, and so they need to. Just to even make it interesting, because face it, when you watch bodybuilding, yes, sometimes if you watch a documentary, you get to know someone's personality. That can make it more interesting and make it fun, seeing their home life and stuff. But really, when show day comes, it's a guy coming out on stage posing the music. Sometimes the big excitement of the night might be in the pose down where someone gives someone the elbow and pushes them out the way or stands in. It's like, wow. It's like really the whole show itself, if there's no rivalry, is pretty fucking boring. So they need to spice it up. That's where I loved remember when McMahon and Tom Platz did the WBF, at least they had these big stage props, people coming in like in planes, landing on the stage. There was all this big production around it, which just made it a bit more exciting and entertaining to actually watch as a fan. So
it doesn't even need to go to that extent. Like even the press conferences are starting to get a little bit boring. Like there wasn't any giving back and forth.
I've said that for years. The press conference is, you could just close your eyes and listen to fucking Bob and whoever else up there. It sounds like every year. So how do you think you're going to do against this guy? Well, I think I can beat him. Then he goes over to that guy. Did you hear what he said about you? What do you got to say about that? The only thing that changed at the press conference is Bob fucking Ciccarello's glittery coat. But the rest of the fucking press conference is boring. It's like they should just introduce the guys. Bob, whoever's up there with whoever else, Dennis, James, whatever, they can, control the questions and stuff, but open it up to the fucking fans. Open it up to the people sitting down there, because they're going to come up with some funny questions, stupid questions, fucking ridiculous questions, but at least it's going to be entertaining rather than just saying, so how do you think you're going to do this year? Did you hear what he said? Well, how do you think? Do you think you can beat him? How are you looking? It's like, it's the same shit year after year. It's fucking dull and boring. So they need to actually open it up to the fans. Like, back when we had the press conference, even Wayne DeMilio on that Patrick David interview said that, there'd be like 1,200 people at the press conference and people could ask questions from the audience. That's what made it so interesting and fun, because that would get people arguing back and forth on the stage, and that's how it should be. You had people, even if they're just bunging it on. I think one time, Kai and Phil would start to have a go at each other, but it got a bit personal and got a bit. But just ahead of time, just before you go out there, just settle up. Say, listen, you go at me about this, I'll go at you. Let's just play at it. Don't take it personal, but let's just make it entertaining for the fucking fans down there. That's what they have to do.
There needs to be a bad guy to make it entertaining, and everyone wants to be the good guy. Like you look at, we need a Conor McGregor, but in bodybuilding.
Exactly.
I mean? Someone who's just a smart ass who just loves to, but can back up. So Phil kind of created a little bit of controversy when he started making stupid posts after he lost that Olympia and.
That's where Wayne was pretty good with me, because I'd always argue with Wayne, and Wayne would sometimes say to me, "Lee, just save it for when we're out there and stuff like that. We'll just make a thing out of it." Smart. So Wayne, because Wayne was like, Lee, you'll be the good guy to IFBB. I'm the guy. I'll be the bad guy. So let's just play at it. And Wayne knew that. So that's why I'd even sometimes see, even when things would come down where I'd talk about stuff, where the IFBB used to get mad at me and suspend me. I say, why suspend me? Just go along with it. Just go back and forth. The fans would love it. They'd be like, oh, fuck, did you see what Lee just said? Did you see what the IFBB just said back to Lee? And blah, blah, blah. It's just like, just make it entertaining. Because look at, like I said, with the wrestling, how many times would McMahon come out there and start yelling at his wrestlers, and then they'd start yelling at him, and he got the head of the organisation going mad at his wrestlers, and then they're going mad at him. And, some people loved him, some hated him. And then you'd have the other people the other wrestlers that people hated and booed and cheered on the others. It's like, that's how it should be. Just make it entertaining, because that's what the fans want.
That's why when I'll bring it back home where when we had the split with the IFBB here and everything started to happen, and obviously I got heavily involved as a promoter, and when we were slowly introducing what was happening, I don't know if you followed wrestling back in the day with the NWO and the WCW and NWO taking over the WCW.
They all split, yeah.
Well, that was me. That's exactly my mindset. That's when I was hooked. That's when everyone was hooked to wrestling, and that's what we did. So every time with the podcast, like, we'd bring in another guest who's made the crossover. So it was like Ahmed Hirachi, who was backstage at the old IFBB. He's come over to our side now, and I used to do little things like on the. No one knows this because no one will ever look hard enough, but on the little on our interview with Tony Doherty and in the image of Tony, if you zoom in on the actual image, it has NWO woven over and over and over again into his tie. Just little subtle shit like that. That's exactly my mindset. I was like, we've got to hype this up as a massive thing.
What's actually happened to the old IFBB that Paul Graham does? Are they still going with shows?
I don't think so.
I haven't seen or heard any shows.
Well, they had their posing clinic on the same day I had my posing clinic here in Sydney, and we had the most competitors we've ever had at a posing clinic. I think it was 120, and that was at a day when it was torrential rains, and they put a post up of about 6 people, including all the other.
Those the officials,
the officials and their mates, and they blamed the weather. But I was like,
but even like I said, I'm on Facebook due to my sponsors and that. But generally, even when you're on Facebook, you'd see something, someone going to their show or someone mentioning their shows. But I don't even see any mention of the.
Says a point anymore. But anyways, that's them dusted. We'll talk a little bit about Luke Sandoe. So I think it was only last week. Still, I think it was still very fresh. It was only last week.
Week and a half or so.
Yeah, sad news of Luke Sandoe passing away, and I was very saddened by it because I spoke to Luke a fair few times, to the point where the best thing about Luke was he'd remember you. And I had him on the podcast over 3 separate occasions, and a lot of backstage interviews and a lot of chats with Luke. But the best thing about the guy was he was one of the only pro bodybuilders that I've ever met where you could have a conversation with him that was completely unrelated to bodybuilding. And that's how I used to like to be, because I don't know if it's just me or just whether I'm from Australia and Luke's from England, but you always notice American bodybuilders, that's what they want to talk about: bodybuilding, drugs, training, eating, stuff like that. But I always find other people outside that, yes, if you ask them about it, they'll talk about it. But if you're not talking about it, they'd rather just talk about how you're going, how's your life, how's this, how's that. Just general stuff. Do you go fishing? Do you do this sort of stuff? I enjoy doing this. Just general chit-chat that you talk about, not just, Luke saying to you, well, how do you train? What do you do for chest? And you asking him, what do you do for chest? It's just like, how fucking boring is this conversation all the time? But I used to hate that when people want to talk about that 24/7. It's like, if you're in a seminar and stuff, you get asked bodybuilding questions, answer them. But just general chit-chat, like if, you go out to a restaurant after a contest and you'd have a few people there, general fans, bodybuilders, half of them are just talking about general stuff in life, and the other half would say, so Lee, what do you do for this? Do you think I should eat this? How much protein do you think I should have in this meal? I'm like, oh, fuck, I don't give a fuck. Just fucking eat whatever. It's just the whole life is 24/7 bodybuilding, which, to a degree is okay, but you need to have that balance of life and training. And, it's like any job. You don't want to take it home with you 24/7. People say, yes, bodybuilding lifestyle is 24/7. That's not really. If you get ready for a contest, you get up in the morning, do your cardio, do your training, do your diet when you go to bed or when you get home from the gym. I used to love doing stuff that had nothing to do with bodybuilding. That's why even when I got ready for the contest, sometimes on the weekends I'd go racing, but in the morning I'd still get up, do my cardio, go to the gym and train, and then go out to the racetrack. I'd be at the racetrack all day racing the dragsters. Then at night, go back to the hotel, do cardio, go to bed, get up and do it again. So I just needed that break from bodybuilding all the time. And as you said, Luke was like that. From a lot of stuff I'd see of him in interviews, if you didn't ask him about bodybuilding, he wouldn't talk about it. He'd just talk about
talk about life in general.
Yeah,
So
he's a big Marvel fan. That's what we used to talk about, our comic books. But
yeah,
you talk about having that balance in life and how important it is. It obviously it didn't hide the fact that he obviously had his demons because he eventually did take his own life. And we don't want to talk about that too much because we're not going to talk about the whole depression side of things because we're not psychologists and there's so many things that we could say with the right intentions that could potentially upset people that suffer from that illness.
I sort of mentioned it before because, there are different types of depression. Some just come on at the moment. Some can be like, started from a young age or something happened to you at a young age and you carried it through all your whole life and stuff. But I mentioned it before, that time when I cut my wrist when I was young, I was happy-go-lucky and stuff, but I just had that one, get a little bit depressed here and there, but just that one day where I was fine, went back to home that night, sat there and got in that depressed mode. When you ever get depressed and you sit there and you start working, thinking about it more, let me put on some fucking sad music now to make it even worse. It's almost like you're trying to get yourself into this dark hole. And when I think, like, fuck it, that's it, I got the knife and cut my wrist. But luckily the knife wasn't that sharp that it did cut and started bleeding. But, in my mind, you see the movies, blood goes everywhere. I'm like, well, that doesn't seem to be bleeding enough. It's going to take a while to bleed out. So I got the knife and I put it back in to give it another go.
That's it.
And when I did it the second time, it stung that bad. It sort of fucking went, fuck, what am I doing? So I called my mum up, hey, better come get me. I cut my wrist. But that whole thing, like that whole day, I was happy as anything. And sadly, I've had 3 friends that have committed suicide. And all of them, they always say you should talk about it if you've got depression. And, we'd have general conversations where he'd be happy all week. And he might say, I had a fight with a girlfriend. I'm a bit depressed, blah, blah, blah. Okay, then he'd be over it. And one Sunday night we went out for dinner, a lot of us, happy as anything. Lee, see you tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, he was making plans for Wednesday and stuff. So you often wonder, from that time he was happy at dinner time, he went home that Sunday night, Monday morning he was dead. So sometimes, like I said, you can talk to people all you want, but sometimes when they get in that dark place where they think the only way is out, and then people say it's selfish too, but I knew when I got to that point, I wasn't thinking about my family. Is this going to upset my family? Is this going to hurt these people? Once you get tunnel vision like that, and I had another friend who ended up leaving a note when he did it, and all the stuff in the note, you're thinking, really? He never talked about it. You never saw it coming, but he just said that, he just left it because in his mind, he thought him being dead would be better off for everybody. That's how his mind
tunnel
works.
vision. If you're, and I'm sure Luke loved his daughters to death and his family, but he obviously at the end of the day, something in his mind made him believe that they were better off without him.
Because people say that, how could you do it if you got a daughter or you got family? Because when people are in that depression stage like that, a rational person would think, yes, I have a daughter, I have a son, or I have my mother. I can't do that to them because that's your rationally thinking. But these people, when they get in that depression type of thing, that's the last thing on their mind. They don't think about this is going to hurt somebody or how it's going to affect somebody. All they think about is how can they stop the pain they're feeling and how do they make that go away. And sometimes they think, killing themselves is the best way to stop all that pain, which sadly, isn't. It's a short term, you think quick fix, but then if you could do it all again, I remember there used to be so many things in America, you see young kids, not with suicide, but just with that spare at a moment stupidity where I remember one kid got put in jail for life because some young kid stepped on his new shoes and he said he disrespected him by stepping on his new shoe, shot the kid in the head, and just that stupid split second of stupidity, now the kid was put in jail for life. So, you just have those moments where, you know.
Was it? Were you bodybuilding at that time when you went through a little bit of a? Yeah. So what if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. But what was going through your life? What made you push?
Well, mine was all that because I'd been bodybuilding since 13. This was when I'd done the IFBB World Championships, and that's when I did it in Russia, and I came up positive on the drug test. But before, I was living up at Archer's Gym in the back of the gym, and I cleaned factories at night time from about 10 o'clock at night to 2, 3 in the morning. I'd clean homes, cleaned the gym. I lived at the back of the gym. And I went to the World Championships in Malaysia the year before and got 4th. The following year I went back to Russia. I was still a lightweight. And we had the drug test. And before I went, we got tested twice from the Australian Institute of Sport here. Both tests negative. I got the paper somewhere still because my grandmother kept it. We go overseas to Russia for the World Championships. And on the Thursday, we do our urine test. And then they have that, World Congress meeting where all the people from each country get together and they're told your athlete come up positive. I knew I'd be fine because I wasn't using anything because I think it was only like 70 kilos or 71 kilos. I can't remember if it was under 75 or under 70, the lightweight back then. So I knew I'd be fine. Got to the show, did the show, pre-judging, and that everyone's coming up, oh, Lee, our judge give you first. This year you're going to win it. This year you're going to win it. I'm like, you know what? When I get the trophy in my hand, it says first place, and I'll believe it. So we're just about to go back out for the nighttime awards, and I got a tap on the shoulder. Come here. I said, what? You come up positive on the drug test. I'm like, what do you mean I come up positive on the drug test? I couldn't. Well, you can't go back out. So went back to the hotel room. I was all depressed, called up Mum and said, you know what just fucking happened, blah, blah, blah. Then that night I had probably 20 teams come to my room. They couldn't believe it. I had probably 20 different track suits people gave me who did get awards. They gave me their awards if it was first place, second place. I got watches from the Russian team because they knew I'd been fucked over. So I came back to Australia and I was like, you know, this can't be right. My mum called up the Australian Institute of Sport. They said, he's come up positive on a test, but you tested him before he went. How could that be? They're like, well, it shouldn't be. So we would test him again. But because I was with the IFBB, Paul Graham had to give permission for me to get tested again because I was with the IFBB as the sporting thing. And my mum was going to pay for it. It's like $357 or $87 for the test. But because Paul Graham said no, they wouldn't test me again.
So is that where your relationship went sour with the IFBB? Or is that just one thing on the list?
Well, this is the beginning. This was like Lee's first inkling into the screwing you can get from the IFBB.
Yeah.
This was still only like just 19 or just turning 19. So I was just living out the back of the gym still. I think I just had one of those things. 'Cause I never wanted to be a pro bodybuilder, but then I was thinking, if I had won that, I would have had a pro card now at 19. I would be in America and doing this, but here I am in the back of a fucking gym. And I remember I was eating baked beans out of a tin. And I just get myself in that place where I'm like, fuck this, fuck cleaning factories at night time and fuck doing this and that. Where's that fucking knife? And
and that's what it was, yeah. Because I watched a podcast with Fuad Abiyad. I don't even know if I pronounce his name properly. Who did a podcast with Luke Sandoe and got to know him well over the last year. And he did an episode with Luke's best mate and training partner. And I had a mate. So I've got a group of mates from school who they keep me grounded. They know nothing about bodybuilding. They've never come to one of my shows. They take the piss out of me standing on stage, but like they're my best mates. They're like my brothers. I had known them since preschool. Yeah,
they're the best type to have. The ones that aren't involved in bodybuilding.
Yeah, and I had one of them actually message me and said, "Oh, I saw that interview you did with Luke Sandoe. It was actually really sad. He seemed like a genuine good bloke. Blah blah blah." And I actually said, "Oh, look, yeah, you know what? That's actually really nice of you that you mentioned that because I know that you don't pay an interest in bodybuilding, but yeah, look, and it was a way for me to say, yeah, look, it was obviously sad and a little bit upset about it, but yeah." And one of my mates was like, he straight away blamed bodybuilding because he obviously doesn't know, and he said if I can't remember what he said, but he's like filling your body's full of stuff like that, blah blah blah. Is only going to push you towards that. Anyway, but this episode with Fuad and his training partner, his training partner actually said, if anything, bodybuilding prolonged his life because it gave him a purpose.
Bodybuilding was his outlet. That's what you know. A lot of people that have mental illness or whatever, any type, love going to the gym, keeps them grounded, gives them something to do. It's almost like their therapy. Like some people go to a therapist and stuff. And then, it's like I said, for people to say, because I saw a couple of comments come up too, oh, fucking steroids, this. It's like, come on. Look how many suicides happen. Look at the suicide rate every year in Australia or even around the world. And I'm sure 99.9% of them aren't taking steroids or anything like that. So it's got nothing to do with the drugs and stuff. And that's the same as always you talk about when people go roid rage. You know, people that take steroids have roid rage. I'm like, look, if you're an asshole off the roids, you're gonna be an asshole on the roids. You know, it's just like people that some people can drink and become happy drunks. Other people drink. Once they get drunk, they want to fight every bastard in the bar. They get loud and violent. So it's the same with steroids. It's like, I have to say, look at Gold's Gym in America or any gym in Australia these days. You know, the amount of young kids and guys that are probably using the steroids in that gym, if roid rage was this actual thing, every gym would be like a UFC fight every fucking night, you know, because everyone be like, that's my equipment, get off that. I fucking want this. Fuck you. It'd be like, everyone be punching on every night, but it's not like that at all. It's just, as I said, it's just different personalities. And so sadly, if you're an asshole off them, you're an asshole on them. It just makes it worse.
So obviously the whole mental health thing has become a topic now with bodybuilding and I don't know. I'm a little bit. a little bit, sit both ways. So when I talk about that time where I put a post up about depression, I thought I put a post up thinking I was being positive, but I don't know if I worded it incorrectly, and people who obviously suffer depression took it the wrong way and blasted me. I'm like, fuck, I'm deleting this post because obviously it's upset a few people. But the whole reason behind my post is there's two different types. And this is my understanding. This is how I feel personally. When people come home and they've had a long day at work, they say they're depressed. That's not depression. You're not. No. You're not depressed. Depression is a totally different monster in itself. Where, like you said, you get in that hole and you just keep pushing further and further deeper. You put on that sad music and
some people too. Some people just like I said, some people who have that depression could be from like I said, it can be a guy or a male or female, maybe from a young age, was brought up wrong, was sexually abused as a child or anything, and there's any different triggers that set them off. And then there are some who just there's just that chemical imbalance that need probably medication to keep them on that level and stuff like that. So there's so many different types. But like I said, when you put up posts, people are always going to be like, well, blah, 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 you're saying the wrong thing, I have this. Like I said, there's so many different types, but I'm the same way. Like you said, when you come home and just say you're depressed, I always call it it's almost like these millennials who get upset. I was like, you're not depressed at all. It's just almost like you're a spoiled cunt. It's like I always say, there's a list of things that you want and there's a list of things that you need. You need love, you need friendship, you need food, you need these sort of things just to get through life and to make you happy. But then I want the big house, I want the Ferrari, I want the big boat, I want the new iPhone. And now, sadly, you get kids now, oh, Mum didn't get me the new iPhone, I'm fucking depressed, blah, blah, blah. Oh, he's got depression. It's like, no, he's just a spoiled fucking cunt. That's all it is. It's like, just because he didn't get his own way, he can act like he's depressed, but he's just having a little hissy fit. So
And if you put a post up saying something like that, you'd get blasted for it. But because you're being insensitive about it.
I don't take him down because I always figured I can't stand actors or politicians that, if you say something and that's how you feel and that's your feelings, it's like you're not putting your feelings out on anybody else. It's just your opinion on how you feel. It's like, I've talked about my suicide. I'm sure people could say, well, you shouldn't have done this, you should have done that. Well, why didn't you? It's like, well, I'm not putting up for the debate. I'm just telling you what happened to me. So if you don't like it, but it's like I said, this day and age, this whole age of being offended, say there's 1,000 people and you word it a certain way, 900 might go, okay, I understand that. These 10 people will be like, oh, fuck this, and go off their head. And like some of these movie stars, a little group will go off and they have to make an apology. But now you come back and apologise. So now you've made this 10 that went off happy, but now there's another 20 over here because you've reworded it another way. Now this 20's got all pissed off at you. So you can't please everybody. So, as long as you're not intentionally going out of your way to upset someone or, hurt somebody, if it's just how you feel. And sometimes too when you write stuff, it doesn't come across as if you're talking to someone. You can see someone's facial expressions and stuff like that. Because I know some people put up a joke thing and I'll read it. I say, what's that meant to be? They go, oh, it's a joke. I forgot to put LOL because, sometimes if you write something, you can be like...
You have to write LOL.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, if you put LOL, you can see it's a joke. But if they don't, you think, are they actually being rude? Are they saying something to me?
You have to.
So, like I said, it's always so hard to come across. But like I said, this day and age, people get offended and they're always going to look into stuff. But it seems like I can tell off the colour jokes sometimes. I'd talk about whether a baby had passed away. People are like, well, Lee, I had a child that passed away like that, blah, blah, blah. I say, but I'm not talking about you. I'm just, in general, making fun of something like this and stuff like that. It's like...
You did delete a post the other day. You put a comment up, you commented on something and then you deleted your comment. And I think you thought I might have pushed it a little bit too far here. I can't remember the comment. I can't remember what the comment was.
I don't normally delete anything, so it must have been...
It was a Mother's Day one.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. What was it?
I can't remember you commented, but I put a post up. You commented, but I think you had a second. I was going to leave.
I was going to leave, but you know why I sometimes do that? I sometimes do that because I figure, when I come back, there's just going to be so much stuff here.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
And I know that I'm going to get into it. Yeah. So I figured, you know what, Lee?
I don't have the time.
What was that? No, what was it? It was it was something about something dying or something, wasn't it? Or people that have
I put a post up.
I said, oh, yeah, and I've lost my iPhone or I've lost the remote.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Something like that. Whatever.
It wasn't too bad, but I noticed that
but
you
I think
deleted it.
Sometimes I'll even do that I'll put up something funny on my Instagram, and it's just as a joke, but then people just take it so serious. I'll come back and there'll be 200 comments, and I start replying to them, and I'm like, oh, fuck, this is just too much. I'm just like, you know what? I'll delete the whole post because some people just fucking go on and on and on. It's like, Jesus Christ, shut up.
Did you, like, say, obviously now with the topic of mental health, was it ever an issue talked about back in your competing days? Was it something that, obviously now it's something that's a lot more recognisable and talked about. Was it anything that was an issue back then, or was it?
No, I don't really think so. But even back then, it's not that long ago. But I think
I'm not talking like it was 50 years ago when I say back then. Yeah,
yeah, but not really, because I think mine too. It wasn't like something where I was depressed all the time. You know, you have those ones, like I said, you can have depression from a young age all the way through from something that's happened, or you can have chemical imbalance. Where mine was more like just because of what happened to me with the contest and the drug test and feeling shit, then it's like, especially in bodybuilding, if you come back into bodybuilding and say, listen, I come up positive on a drug test, but I didn't take anything, people are like, oh, sure you didn't, you fucking dickhead. Don't bullshit us.
But that was a major step you took. Like, if you could say, for instance, like you used the example before of that bloke stepping on his shoes and shooting someone in the head. He had a brain fart.
Mm-hmm.
You could say that in your circumstance, maybe it was a brain fart at the time.
Pretty much.
But,
pretty much on those
but,
things.
but for you to go to that extreme,
Hey, I was
it was a serious brain fart. It was either if you either do things at 100%, if you're that type of mentality, or
Oh, thanks, Gretch. You're making me feel bad that I failed it. I'm going to fucking go through it again now, cunt. I'll show you that I can do it.
Don't put that on my conscience.
I'm gonna do it live.
Please,
you can just watch me fucking bleed out like this. This is for you, Gretch.
No, but yeah, well, like obviously you snapped out of it pretty quick.
Yeah, well, pretty much like I said, once I did it, I was like, yeah, I did it. But then because I didn't see the blood spurting or running like in the movies, I'm thinking, well, this is going to be a slow death with it just fucking trickling out. So, because I'm still in that sort of frame of mind, but then for some reason when I put it back in, you know, if you got a cut that's sort of deep and you put something in there, so I want to put the knife back in because it was blunt, it's just putting it in, it hits the nerves or whatever, and it fucking stung like hell. That's what sort of, oh, what the fuck am I doing? So maybe if I had got it good the first go, maybe I wouldn't have, you know.
No, that's fucking...
So, good thing I had shitty knives from Kmart that weren't too sharp or something.
Fuck. Oh, look, man, obviously it's
I'm
a
sure
good
there's some
thing
people,
that it didn't happen.
there's people watching this now going, oh, fucking hell, why didn't the cunt just do it properly to begin with? Wouldn't have to listen to this fucking ass.
I'm thinking there's a lot of people that are pretty much very, very grateful that you didn't go ahead with it when you...
There'll be a lot of comments. Hey, Lee, I got some nice Wilshire ones here that are nice and sharp. Do you want to borrow them?
Just don't post your address on the bottom because you might get some gifts in the mail.
Yeah. Sometimes I see those ads on TV. They're throwing the free steak knives. I'm like, ooh, maybe I should.
We should stop joking about it. Yeah, so obviously it wasn't a topic talked about much back in the day.
No, but I even think even over the years you've known from your father maybe and your grandfather, it was always men will, you know, shut the fuck up, harden up, stop being a pussy, you know, if you felt sad or anything like that. Guys weren't really meant to show their emotions. I'm sure you go watch a movie, you started crying, you'd be like, I can't really show that I'm fucking getting upset watching these movies. Now it's a bit...
Mighty Ducks always gets me. And Mighty Ducks, yeah.
Now it's always a bit more acceptable. But back then it was like, you know, you always laughed. I remember when I was young, you'd see my sister and stuff, they'd see their girlfriends and, oh, how you going? They'd give them a big hug and blah, blah. I'm thinking to myself, oh, fucking lesbians. Next they'll be in bed doing the fucking scissors together, the way they're carrying on. But so, like, you know, guys would be like, how you going, mate? Sort of a pat on the back, you know, or if somebody goes now, you see it online, hey, Lee, I think you're great. I love you. No homo. I'm like, look, you don't have to write no homo. If you're homo, it doesn't bother me, blah, blah, blah. If you're telling someone you love them, what's wrong with that? It doesn't, you know, but I think guys are always brought up to be, you know, don't show your emotions, just be harden the fuck up, you know, just take it like a man and, you know, be whatever. So I think now it's slowly guys have been a bit more how you going type thing and might give their buddy a hug when they see him and stuff like that. But, you know, men have always had to be that, just be a man, you know, toughen up.
It does. It is hard. It is hard. And I think it's ingrained in us. It is ingrained in us. But,
well, it's like back in the day, you know, you'd always see these people that see a girly guy and go, oh, look at him, he's a faggot, you know, to call these guys gay and stuff if they act a certain way and stuff. And, you know, this is where I got respect for them because you'd always see them saying they're gay, they're a fag and stuff like that. Have you ever had your prostate checked?
Yeah, so no, listen, I'm not old enough yet.
Listen, I think I did like heavy squats once, and I was bleeding when I went to the toilet, and I thought I was having my period or something. You know, I was going through menopause or whatever. So I had to go to the doctor, and he put his fucking little glove on, and got the gel out if I hear it fucking come. So put his fucking finger up my fucking ass, and for like a week later, I felt like I still had his fucking finger up my ass. This is where I got new respect for the gay people, and I never called a gay person a sissy or that ever since, because anyone that can take a big cock up their ass is a fucking man, all right? Because I took a finger up my ass and it fucking hurt like hell. So if you can take a cock up your ass, you're a fucking man, all right?
I don't know how a gay man would take that as a compliment, or I'm just not even going to even try.
Well, it is a compliment, okay? As simple as that.
Let's look. We did post, so we're going to smash through these listener. Fucking, you're kidding me! I lost it again.
Oh, you're in Sydney too. So what do you think now of these lockdowns done? All these new fucking... I was down Sydney. When was I down there? Like a week or so ago, I went down to Sam's. Well, during the lockdown, I went to Sam's. Oh, it didn't take me long at all to get down to Port Botany. No traffic on the road at all.
Yeah, when was that, though? Because there's traffic back now.
I know, that's what I said. I went down the other day, traffic everywhere again.
Yeah.
And as soon as you get to Sydney, I'm not sure who's the worst now, the women, or as soon as you hit Chatswood and the Asian drivers appear, it's like, fuck me dead, Asian drivers. What's going on there? It's like, this is where I was telling Dave today, I think I've done a study and I know why Asian drivers are bad.
Oh, here we go. This is something, I'm trying to find these questionnaires while you're talking.
Okay, now
this is probably something I'm going to have to edit, but go on.
You don't have to edit this at all. This is actual, I did a study, thank you very much.
Okay,
I was watching these drivers between Chatswood and Warunga. So it was a very long half-hour study.
Yep.
As I'm driving home...
Were you taking notes at the time?
Yeah, I was, yes. I was putting it in my phone. Siri, take notes, Siri.
Yep.
As I'm driving home and the sun's setting, I'm thinking to myself, my eyes are round, right? So I'm driving along. As the sun hits me, I squint.
I can see where this is going.
But as I squint, I can still see. Then I look across at Ung Fang Lung Li beside me in his car. Before the sun's even hit him, he's already like this. So I'm thinking, as soon as this fucker gets in the sun, he's going to go, and his fucking eyes are shut, and he's going to crash.
Well, wouldn't he you just wouldn't have to squint.
No, he would have to, because our eyes are like this. Naturally, we squint. If you're already squinting and then the sun hits you, because that's what his natural eyes are, he's got to squint a bit more, and they're shut, and his eyes are shut. That's an actual study done from Chatswood to Warunga.
Look, we've covered homophobia. We've just gone into racism, so we've covered those topics.
That's not racism. This is like actual facts. I've done a study on it.
Okay.
The government should have paid me for this.
We'll wait to see the statistics and the reports.
Between the bastards giving us coronavirus and fucking not being able to drive.
All right. I mean, see, like, you got to remember too, whenever I put these posts up with people asking you questions, you don't answer them on the fucking post. You just wait till the podcast.
Did I answer one, did I?
Yeah, answered a couple.
I was being polite.
Most you were, but most of them are people trying to suck your dick. Like, hope you're well, mate. PS,
no homo there, by the way.
Plus, PS, fuck Generation Iron. Anything happened with them since we last spoke?
No, I haven't heard a word. I was actually watching, what did I watch the other day? They were interviewing somebody. Who was it? And they mentioned me quickly. They were talking about competing back. Who were they talking to? And they said, who'd you have friends with and who was good? And John Romano, that's it. They're talking about John Romano when he worked with MD. And he was talking about, did he have any problems with anyone he worked with at MD? And I think I was trying to get into the Lee Priest thing. And John's like, no, I worked with Jay, that Ronnie. Worked with Lee. I'm like, no, they were all great. Got on great with all of them. And he's like, oh, you got on good with all of them? I think, go and ask him.
Did he just cut him off so that you can move on to the next question so he didn't talk more about you?
No, you could tell that he wanted to. But then I think the last couple of times they did that, it backfired on him. So it wasn't, it didn't work too well.
Let's move on to these questions. I'll mention the people that asked the question because they did go to the effort. And you have got a few, but I'm going to skip a couple of the stupid ones. Alex Shaughnessy.
Hey, the stupid ones are the best ones. What are you talking about? Not
stupid. I'm just talking about the ones where they're basically not even a question. What non-sport related hobby would you have liked to have sank as much time into as bodybuilding if you absolutely had to? I'm going to guess drag racing.
Yeah, well, before the drag racing, I did the circle track and the road racing, and then the drag racing towards the end when I won the championship. But any type of car racing I probably would have done. Like from a younger age, I had to start off in like the go-karts and went all the way through. But even then, I still liked the training side. But I still would have, most car drivers anyway do a lot of training just to stay fit. But yeah, I would have probably done the car racing.
James Irons asked, I don't know who he's talking about here. Obviously, you would. Ask him if Muscle Jacker and the twins still keep in contact with him.
Muscle Jacker. Muscle Jacker was a guy that used to write to me when I did Sam's fitness videos, and he wrote me this big, long letter. That was the last one he ever wrote that I didn't turn him on anymore since I got my body covered in tattoos, and he used to love masturbating to me all the time and stuff like that. But ever since I covered my body in tattoos, I just didn't do it for him anymore. So he wasn't going to talk to me anymore or follow me anymore because I turned him off. And the twins, I got this fan letter one day, and I was like, this is when you got letters in the mail when I was living in America. I was just reading it, me and my brother, your fans are yours, we love you, we train, we do all this, we do that, blah, blah, blah. Then they sent a photo, so I got the photo out, and it was a picture of the two twin brothers standing in their bedroom with a huge poster of me on the wall behind them, and they're both standing in front of the poster masturbating.
Piss off. They sent you this photo.
Back in the day,
two brothers.
This is when they used to have like email. All you ever got was emails back in the day because you had like a website. There wasn't any Facebook. I think MySpace finally came out at some point.
Just to make look, not that it makes any difference, but it would be a little bit weirder. Were they identical twins?
Yeah, it'd be like almost just masturbating in front of a mirror, wouldn't it?
So they were identical. That just makes it weirder. It makes it creepy. It's like that scene from
So would it be like if you're a twin and you're masturbating in front of each other? If you changed and you grabbed his and he grabbed yours, would it still be like you're doing yourself?
Next question.
No homo, just asking.
Byron Brun Smits. I know who he is. Trains at my gym. A lot of people believe going to that size. I think he's talking in reference to the fat photo that I posted of you. So you used to obviously blow out a little bit in the off season. A lot of people believe going to that size that you can't get your waist back in as tight as before. Is this just a matter of starting your prep earlier, or what is your view on this? Do you think yours came in back to a size you were happy with because it doesn't appear you ever had an issue?
I never had an issue. The biggest my waist ever got was 45 inches in the off season, and then when I dieted down, it was 29 inches.
So your waist is
your waist. It's like you got a bone structure there. The only reason I saw a lot of guys' waists get bigger was if they did a lot of oblique movements, like the heavy weighted side bends and stuff. And people say sometimes if you squatted heavy or did deadlifts, it'd make your waist bigger. But I never saw that happening on any guys. I think more when drugs and insulin came in, their stomachs got bloated because they were eating a lot more carbon up. But generally, in the off-season, you'll bloat out and do stuff. But if you diet back down, I always dieted over 16 weeks. I was always ready by 12 weeks. And your waist is your waist. If you've got a small bone structured waist and you're not blocky and thick, it's going to come back down to normal size. I've never had a problem with loose skin or anything like that. So
yeah. Jacob Vose, what is your go-to KFC order?
Normally when I go
hot and spicy guy.
No, I don't like hot and spicy. Original.
I'm original, man. Yeah, same.
If I don't get like a family meal at a bucket, I generally just like getting 2 of those original chicken burgers and then just a couple of drumsticks and a couple of pieces of chicken, and that's it. And
there's a lot of KFC references here. Was that like your go-to cheat meal back in the day or something?
I don't know how, only because when photos were taken, I had KFC, but I ate probably 4 times more McDonald's than I ever did KFC.
So you're more a McDonald's man then?
Yeah, but because people saw me with the KFC all the time, it was always like, Lee's KFC, Lee's KFC, but I very rarely ate KFC compared to McDonald's. So.
See, I love my KFC, but I feel shit for at least 3 or 4 days after.
Oh, you do, don't you? That's good.
Horrible.
It's like I'm like that sometimes with Chinese. I love a big Chinese meal, but then the next day or day after, you just feel a bit sluggish. And I have to get the friends that I love KFC. They go buy it, and then they'd take the skin off it. I'm like, that's the best. I know. So why are you even fucking buying it if you're going to take the skin off it? I said, I'll be eating the fat bits on it and eating the.
That's what you get, but living in Newcastle, because the fanciest restaurant in Newcastle is KFC.
It is, especially where I live. But actually, Red Rooster at the moment's doing this new crispy fried chicken I had the other day. It was pretty good.
Okay, I might give that a crack on the weekend.
I had 2 rooster rolls and the crispy fried chicken.
The rooster rolls a go-to. The rooster rolls, you have to get a rooster roll every
they're
time.
good, aren't they? With that mayonnaise. Do you go mayonnaise or the gravy?
Mayo.
Yeah.
Mayo. Zane Flanagan, when prepping, did you count calories or just drop shit foods and do more cardio depending on how your body looked? This is good. These are good questions because these are obviously people that haven't heard.
Generally by the mirror. Like when I first started bodybuilding, from the ages of 13 maybe to 18, I kept a diary of what I ate, how many calories and stuff like that. But then, the more you do it, the more you can look at a piece of chicken and go, well, that's roughly this many grams and stuff like that. So I just went by the mirror, and then some days I'm like, you know what, I'm going to eat more carbs today, so I might have eaten more carbs, but then I'll go do an extra half hour of cardio and stuff like that. And people are like, well, why do you do so much cardio? I'm like, well, I would rather eat more food and do a bit of extra cardio than cut my cardio down and go to bed fucking hungry, wake up in the middle of the night where you're starving hungry. It's like, oh, it's only 1 a.m. What can I eat before I get up? I know. Swallow that to get rid of the hunger pain. It's like, fuck that. It's like, I'd rather just eat more food.
See, with me personally, and this is probably going to be a good segue to the next question. With any coach that I've ever worked with, if I didn't do cardio, I couldn't get lean. So I remember the last time I competed, I literally wasn't. I was progressing. Obviously, it was progressing very, very slowly. Very, very slowly. Calories were dropping, and then one week, my coach at the time said, "Fuck, your body's flicked the switch. Like, all right, everything's working this week." I said, "Yeah, I started doing cardio." I started doing cardio without letting him know, but like my body has to be active.
I just find too, like when I start training for a contest and you start eating cleaner foods, I just feel more energetic. And for some reason, because I've got that contest in my mind, I'm thinking about this, I just can't sit still for a long time. So I figured I'll put a treadmill in front of the TV or a bike. So if I'm going to watch a movie, I'll be like, you know what, I'll hop on the bike for half an hour while I watch the movie and then get off and sit down and relax again. So I just throw cardio in here and there all the time. Generally, it was 2 to 3 hours a day total. I'd do it. But, I said I felt great because, as I said, I just couldn't sit still. I always wanted to get up and do something.
Burning calories constantly.
Yeah.
Warwick King, and I'll only ask a few more of these. How much of your growth and size would you put down to genetics versus diet training formula?
Probably. Genetics is going to be the main one because, like I said, when it came to drugs, I'd never had to abuse or to use a lot. And my mother, when she started training, she developed well. My grandfather, he had a good physique on him for that. So genetics is a thing. But, even people who have the best genetics still have to bust their ass and train hard. Some people say, well, you're genetically gifted, you don't have to train as hard, but you still do. So it's like, just because you got the genetics, you still got to train hard to build it. Just you might have the shape. Whereas I know some guys who don't have the best genetics and bust their ass and can beat guys who have the best genetics because, I've seen it before, even with Flex, he had great genetics, but sometimes the ones that have the best genetics get a bit fucking lazy because they're like, oh, that comes a bit easy.
You know who comes to mind when you say best genetics? Cedric McMillan. He could win an Olympia any year had he puts in the hard work and comes in peeled. He's got the best shape. It frustrates me every single time he hops on stage and he's not in perfect condition.
They're the type of guy, especially when they're on, how good they can look and how good they can do.
Yeah.
And you see him thinking, okay, he's going to do good. Then you walk out and you're like, oh, what happened?
Every time, man. Hulk Yates asks, do you still have McDonald's hotcakes and eggs for breakfast sometimes?
Not since the lockdown, no. But generally when the gyms are open, I'd leave the gym and go to McDonald's and get either hotcakes and the eggs and the coffee, or I just get the eggs and a McMuffin, because you can buy the eggs for $1 each. So once I finish training, I just go to McDonald's and buy 6 or 8 eggs by himself and English McMuffin.
English McMuffin with
strawberry jam.
Do you see the Ashley Ryan, I don't know what he's making reference to here. Can you ask him, does he see the bodybuilding hourglass symmetry ever making a comeback and being as important as it was in the old days? But what's the bodybuilding hourglass symmetry? What's that?
You know, the big shoulders, tiny waist, and then the
Oh,
legs.
okay. I thought it was an actual reference to something that you spoke about back in the day.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I used to watch Days of Our Lives. It used to be one of my favourite shows, like Scenes Through the Hourglass.
Yeah, Scenes Through the Hourglass. So are the Days of Our Lives.
I used to love Victor Demera and all those guys, John Black and Marlena and Hope and Bo and Patch. And I know them all. I used to watch Days of Our Lives. I think it's still. I think some guys still have it. You know, for a while you get a few guys that are a bit blockier with the bloated stomachs, but I think the classic division has a few of those, and I think even the 212s, a lot of guys have that hourglass. But you know, to me back in the day too, it was like the hourglass was shoulders, tiny waist, quads, and calves. I think sometimes in judging now, you can get away with not having calves, whereas before they used to sort of look down on it. But now, sometimes, you know, they don't look down past the knees.
Yeah, it's not really something that's judged much these days, is it? That's it. All the rest of them are just basically
saying how good I am.
Yeah, and you've replied to a few of them saying thank you, like a nice, polite.
Obviously, they've never met me, have they?
Obviously, they've never watched a full episode of one of our podcasts.
I was actually surprised I didn't get abused when you put up your baby picture yesterday and you go, what you doing? How you doing? I said, I was good till I saw this.
I don't know if my wife would have seen that, but I think she knows your personality type well enough now to know that you're just having a bit of fun.
Was that you who replied and said, I'm your biggest fan or something?
You're his biggest fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah,
I had to quickly make a joke out of it.
Because I knew you would catch on that I was joking, but I was waiting to see if, like, someone like Tanya, you're an asshole, how can you say that about a baby?
We've got similar personality types. Mine's not as extreme as yours, but I sometimes push the line with my jokes. I would have held back with that. but you obviously didn't.
Oh, you know me.
I had to come in and say, well, that's why people find you entertaining anyway. So it is what it is. All right, we're gonna.
It's not like I put up anything like "fuck, I can't wait." Look, ET2's coming out or something. I just said, you know.
What about the baby? I would have actually found that funnier if you would have said something like that.
See, sometimes I do hold back, you know.
Yeah, but I
used to always make jokes. I used to make jokes about that with my friends when they're having babies, because even, you know, like when the baby's born and for some reason the wife always says, oh my God, it looks just like you. You're like, what the fuck? It's all screwed up. You know, when it first comes out, it's still got blood over it. Oh my God, it looks like you. You're like, what? How does it look like anything? Yeah, babies, as they get older, they sort of grow into themselves and their bodies and stuff. But when they first come out, they go, oh my God, look, it has your ears. That's why I used to love, you know, back in the day, Maury Povich. Remember when it used to be on TV?
Maury was the best. Was the best, yeah.
They had that one girl on there once, 10 goes it took her. And even after 10 goes, they still didn't have
I literally remember that episode.
But remember they put up the photo of the baby and the father, and she'd be screaming at him, look at him, he has your eyes, he has your nose.
Every single time she'd say that.
You are not the father. Yeah. It's like...
Yeah, I remember on one of those episodes, I think they brought on 3 blokes, and I think it was like towards the end, Maury was like, fuck, we brought in.
Look, I'm all for girls experiencing it. Look, if the girls love sex, that's fine. But you figure, you know, when you get pregnant, you can normally go back to in a rough period of when you got pregnant. Yeah, so it's like, I was on this date. So you mean to tell me within that week or two, you slept with 10 or 12 different guys?
But the funniest was when they brought on 3 blokes at once, and all of them were not the father, and they're all high-fiving each other. And
I think, what did this poor girl get jumped into a game where they had a train lined up, and bloody hell, it's
nothing used to beat that show. That was such a good show.
But I think his show, that's all it ended up being, wasn't it? Every show from that point on was just like...
Because they were the entertaining ones, the maternity test ones. Yeah.
And then before him, Jerry Springer was always entertaining. He had some...
But they were fake.
Yeah,
he was admitted that they were all scripted now.
What was the bouncer's name? Steve, was it? The ball guy, Steve?
Yeah.
Because
he had his own show after that.
Oh, that's right,
yeah. Yeah, I don't think that went too well. Let's wrap it up.
I want to get paid what Judge Judy gets paid. You see what... She just finally did her last show on TV.
She's wrapped it up.
Yeah, but now she's got a new one. It's where's Judge Judy? This is going to be something according to Judy. It's going to be a similar show, but I think she was getting like $100 million a year just from Judge Judy.
She's so rich. But I love that show. I
want to know how much that other guy gets paid, the bailiff that's been with her from the first day.
Right from the start.
Yeah,
But do you know today, which I thought was ridiculous? So, Joe Rogan, he has now switched his broadcasting, his podcasts over to SoundCloud. So he doesn't upload his podcasts to iTunes anymore. He uploads them to SoundCloud, and he still does his clips on YouTube like he used to do. So you have to go to SoundCloud. You know how much he got paid for that? $100 million for the year. $100 million just for him to go. All right, I'm going to upload via SoundCloud now. Crazy.
What's SoundCloud? Is that
It's just another platform to download podcasts and listen.
I get asked to do podcasts a lot, but I don't really know how to do a podcast.
That's why you hop on with us and do this one.
It seems too complicated. I told you next time I'm coming on, I'm just going on eBay and buying one of those fucking microphones and just sit it here so it looks like I got a professional mic.
Done. All right, let's wrap it up. We got it. But by the time we talk again, hopefully we've got a name for the show. So I'll put a post up when I put this post up, and you got to learn how to share episodes on your Instagram.
Well, you said you were going to tell me how. You didn't tell me how.
Yeah, because it's like talking to.
I know on Facebook it says share. I can share it on Facebook.
Yeah, you shared it on Facebook, but I'll teach you. If you do the swipe up thing, yeah. Don't worry, you'll be starting to get off at 100.
My friends will do that swipe up shit, but I don't know how to do the swipe up.
That's what I'm going to have to teach you.
I did that thing once on Instagram where it says "Ask me a question." You know, you put up "Ask me a question," but then I couldn't find where to go to get all the questions and how to.
100%. Yeah, you had no idea where the answers were. You're funny cunt. All right, let's wrap it up.
I just know how to go on there, answer a question, start an argument, and sit back and watch it go.
I noticed. It's a bit of a trend now. All right, the battery's about to die on the computer, so let's wrap it up. Thank you for coming on, Lee, again.
Okay.
And until next time, you got to have a little catchphrase to say at the end of your episodes too. So you can think about that. You can write. Just say one now if you've got one off the top of your head.
Fuck off, cunts.
Perfect. See you later.
It's 8:45. By 9 p.m. I expect a baby photo, please, before I go to bed.
All right, leave it with me and I'll tag you.
One in a little hoodie looking cute with his little mittens on.
Done. I'll tag you. I'm tagging you and everyone, all of them from now on.
I'm going to start posting all my cat pictures of little kittens.
I've got plenty of comments to make about that.
Well, I like pussy.
Cute pussy. All right, see you all later. Bye.